Here are 10 things that you can do, 10 practical things that you can do as a homeowner to preserve your home's exterior. 1, it's a bumpy road. 1 is going to be to keep the vegetation, the shrubs, the bushes, the small trees away from the house's perimeter.
It looks like a bad idea.
Enough that you could make your way between the shrubs and the house. If something's planted too close and you can't quite get that full amount, that's fine. But try to keep everything away from the house so that 18 to 24 inches. That's a good amount of space. If it needs to be a little bit closer, that's okay. But what you want to do is keep those limbs, that vegetation away from the house. 2 is going to be to regularly evaluate, just take a look at all your eaves, your cornice, your home's overhang, where you have your shingle strip, the small board, your fascia board, your soffit, and a freeze board or a top board, is go around and check those, check the corners, and anywhere that paint is flaking, go ahead and scrape that off and apply a primer and some paint to that to preserve it. Even if you're not doing a full paint job yet, is to keep those surfaces protected, and check for any gaps or cracks where
this part was covered up. Look at this. Shoddy repairs. There's at least 74 nails in a square cubic kilometer. And you wonder,
butts to each other, those expand and contract over time, and the caulking will lose its elasticity. So if you notice that happen, is clean it, add some sealant, some latex caulking with siliconized latex caulking, but not full-on silicone, because it'll be a mess. So regular latex caulking exterior, or latex caulking that's siliconized, that has a little bit of silicone, and it's good for expansion and contraction. So take a look at the home's perimeter, the eaves, the cornice, the fascia, shingle strip, soffit, the freeze board, the top exterior boards. Number 3 is going to be to take a look at your windows. Look at the window sills. The sub-sill is directly under the sash, and the nose sill is the front piece further out towards the home's exterior. If you notice any rot, or the start of rot, which will usually be some flaking paint, some caulking that's missing, and it'll start to feel like light to the touch, is to address that. Is look at the windows themselves. Try to see if there's any flaking or loose paint. Do the same thing. The left side, the right side, look at the brick molds where the trim meets the home's exterior, whether it's brick or sided. When the sill starts to go bad, it usually will start right there at the nose sill, and then as it progresses can get to the sub-sill, which is a more expensive repair. And then if the sub-sill and the nose sill are significantly damaged, moisture can get down into the actual house framing that's below the window sills, and once that happens, it can be a very costly thing. So keep the windows coated and sealed. Number 4 is very simple, is to just keep it clean. Take if you have a pressure wash it with appropriate pressure, or have it soft washed. You could even use a garden hose, just to keep it clean, keep the pests off. And when you do that, you'll naturally be taking a look at your home's exterior trim. Number 5 is your doors. The doors can begin to rot usually right there at the bottom, at the threshold where the brick mold comes down, right there in the jamb, the bottom. If it's just something small, you can put some caulking in there. If you're not ready to replace the door or pay for a repair, and that will help slow down the damage before you end up having to replace an entire door. We do repairs to doors, replace doors, full service doors and windows. 6, it's a very, very easy one, is to keep the slope, the grade around the perimeter of your house sloping away from the house. Over time, years of adding mulch and pine straw can build up, and it can add to create kind of a trench around the perimeter of your house where water will just sit and collect. And then another thing is, whoever is handling your yard, especially if you have an EIFS stucco wood siding or hardy, is to make sure that they're not weed eating so close to the house that they're damaging boards. And that too applies to privacy fencing, because over time that continuous cutting up against the privacy fence damages the wood, and then it'll be 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inches of the boards will eventually just rot. Number 7 is limbs overhanging the house from being on the house. Keep them away from the house. The closer they are to the house, the easier access squirrels will have to the roof, and they like to gnaw into sidewall, siding, fascia, soffits. And number 8 is to check your roof, especially flashings. If you notice flashings that are kicked up or bent or rusted, have that addressed. And along with that is keeping the gutters cleaned out. When the gutters start getting full and sagging, they can pull away and they can cause that fascia to get rotted behind there. And sometimes the fascia rots and then it gets into the framing and you never see it. Type of things happen by the front door. It's unsightly.
Got some more fascia and shingle strip.
Took off the dadgum gutters. They were rusted through. I told them, say, hey, we take them gutters off.
Literally every piece of fascia and shingle strip behind the gutters was rotted.
I mean, I told her, I said, if we take them off, what I tell Don? Don told Don.
You said
hey,
every single piece will be rotted if we take them off.
No, I didn't say every. I said there's a chance that if we take the gutters off,
we could find some things.
I know. I said that some things could be missing.
And you were right. There was actually some shingle strip missing on that side.
Just totally gone.
Totally gone. We found some rotted framing right here. And this is what happens if you don't replace your fascia boards when they rot.
So if you have unsightly, if you're in Deal Creek, we're not in Deal Creek.
That's right. So tonight when you lay down to go to sleep, you should start wondering about what's behind your gutters.
Because the gutters are covering it up. And number 9 is, even if you're not ready to do a full-on paint job or a full-on repair job, is address regularly any problem areas. Keep everything coated. Okay, if you start seeing bare wood, address that. If you see rotten fascia, go ahead and replace that. And also, thinking about the door, is make sure that your threshold is sealed. Sometimes that threshold seal right there at the bottom, especially if the door wasn't installed all the way properly, can allow moisture into the house. Make sure, and this is a big one, and number 10 is to make sure that your sprinkler system is not dumping water on the windowsills, on the siding. Just make sure make sure that your sprinkler system isn't touching the house.